Hello, everyone. Somebody asked me today whether they were going to be okay. They said, am I going to be okay? Can I trust that everything's going to be okay? It's heartbreaking, actually, because more than anything, I really want people to know that everything is going to be okay. No matter what is going on in the world or within themselves or in their life, it's okay. Even though on one level, looking at it, we might be horrified or fearful of the future or upset about the past, on another level, it's designed for a purpose, and we can always ask, who's in charge? And there is a greater intelligence than the mind that's in charge of organizing everything, organizing what stress needs to be released in each individual and who gets what to dissolve and for how long, and the effects of having to dissolve that collective stress. And if you're given something heavy to dissolve, look at it this way. Nature trusts that you can cope to do it, otherwise, it wouldn't have given it to you. So you're kind of in a privileged position if you've been given a heavy load, even though your personality might say, I don't want that. F you, God. Why did you give me so much? You could have given somebody else. Like people can get very, very angry when their life starts to fall apart. They're like, I didn't ask for this. This isn't fair. Other people are having an easier time of it. Why is it so hard for me? Poor me. I can't handle this. I'm losing my mind or I'm heartbroken. And that can lead to people saying, am I going to be okay? Am I going to get through this? I'm going to survive. Yes, is the answer. You will survive. Even if it's really hard, that pain and suffering does get changed and transmuted into something else. And you've been given an opportunity to figure out through just letting go and non judgment and allowing it to pass in its own time, how to be with things that the mind perceives it can't be with. And I pray that everybody gets the resources so that they don't feel alone in that process. In that process is of dissolving, I'm spacing out, dissolving collective stress. And coming together in groups with the intention to dissolve collective stress is extremely powerful. I'm a Siddha, and Siddhas' brains are studied in science, and Siddhas are used by governments to go into war zones to reduce the war, the casualties. It's amazing. There's a lot of research on it. It's called super radiance, and quantum physicists understand super radiance at a very deep, deep, deep level and talk about it and find it magnificent. And it is, and it's not really talked about enough about how the intention to come together with a purpose and to go into deep states of meditation can create coherence in the atmosphere and just waves of peace and stillness in the atmosphere. Instead of dropping a bomb, we say dropping bombs of stillness. So if somebody's dropping a bomb or shooting, the meditators drop stillness bombs and it kind of balances it out. And the intention for peace is much stronger than an intention for war. So if you have a meditator and somebody that's going to want to go to war, the meditators will always win because nature always supports peace. So you know whose side you want to be on. Peace and love is way stronger if you put your attention on it than any anger or war. And so, as a human species, if we come together and we put our attention on peace and love and group meditation, there can't be war. But I really look forward to science studying Siddhar groups. I pioneered a group of Siddhas during COVID to meet 20 minutes twice a day doing just transcendental meditation. And then we do extra things, which I'm not going to talk about, but advanced meditation techniques where you think thoughts at a very deep level, and those thoughts, those peaceful thoughts, create an effect in the atmosphere. And when we all come together and we think the thoughts at the same time, boom, bombs of stillness, bombs of stillness. And it's very interesting because when the siddhas leave, the crime rates return back to normal. But when they're meditating, they just drop, 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 drop. And this is statistically significant and undeniable and has been repeated many times. Statisticians have got involved, and when the siddhas are meditating together, they look to see are hospital admissions dropping, is crime rate dropping, all of this. And so I really look forward to a future where we train more siddhas to be able to think at those deep levels and to think positive thoughts that affect the whole world. And then there'll be peace. It has to be so. It's linked to quantum physics, and that's just a law of nature. And we don't know why there aren't more siddhas. But then we have to ask, well, who's in charge? And there is that intelligence that maybe knows, and we just have to trust in that intelligence, and that will guide us. And who knows? I'm open. Maybe the vibe's going to rise so high that we don't need siddhas anymore, and people will become so evolved that they'll be in a permanent meditative state without doing a formal meditation practice, and they'll be able to think at those deeper levels of silence without needing mantras or tools or guidance or any of that stuff. So nature is miraculous. It can create things out of nowhere at any time. And so we shouldn't be concerned if we're worried that we need to save our spiritual organizations, or if somebody that we perceive as enlightened is passing away, or if not enough people are meditating. Yes, we would like our spiritual guides to not pass away and more people to meditate and the organizations to not fall apart. But who's in charge? And if that's happening, it's happening for a reason. And I don't need to know the answer, and neither do you. But we can trust in our own intention for peace and coming together with the intention for peace. Underneath the color of our skin, underneath what political party we decide to follow or support, underneath where we live or our income, or whether we have a personality disorder, or whether we like dogs or cats, or we eat meat or are vegan, regardless of all of that, At the finest level, we are one thing. And so when we meditate, we come down from the diversity into the unity and become one together. And if we have an intention to do things from that unity space, we just become unstoppable. And so we don't need to shame our species for being a waste of space or messing up, because our species, humans, can come together and have done in the past and created beautiful effects of peace in the atmosphere. And I love watching the animal videos, people saving animals and just being so self-sacrificing or adopting little abandoned children. And people have the capacity for such inner beauty, and they can even surprise themselves. And so focusing on the beauty that we see around us at all times will help shift us into a peaceful place. Because if peace is here and misery's here, peace vibrates at a certain frequency. It's like a diamond. It's a beautiful diamond. And a diamond requires a velvet cushion. So a diamond will land on a velvet cushion. It doesn't land in a dirty mound of soil or anything disgusting. People don't put diamonds into that. So we need to raise ourselves up, not fully up, just even halfway up, and then peace will come to us. Just an intention to raise up a little bit, not fully. We don't even need to go 100% of the way. Nature will meet us. It just wants you to intend to to rise up. The intention to move towards peace and away from hate. Put your attention on what you love, on the beauty you see in the world, on the things that you like in people, rather than the things you dislike. Raise yourself up, and then the peace will come down like a diamond, and you will have access to a kingdom which is celestial, which is beautiful. And as an advanced meditator who's traversed those celestial realms, it is so beautiful. There are emotions that you can't feel in a human body that exist in the celestial realm. There is love and bliss overflowing for all beings at all times, no matter what they're doing in their life. And that intelligence, that divine intelligence, is never judging humans. It doesn't care about, it says this in the Bhagavad Gita, the sin or the merit of anyone. Now, isn't that interesting? That divine intelligence doesn't care about the sin or even the merit of anyone. It it's not like we're all competing to get into heaven. Heaven exists always at all time. Just meet it. Just open the door and go into it. It's always available. It's waiting for you to step into it. You just have to decide and use your intention. And I'll do another video on intention to move in that direction away from all of the stuff that people do to tear each other down and tear themselves down. wagging their fingers at other people, shaming people, putting people on pedestals and then pulling them down, feeling superior to others, shaming people for making mistakes, being hard on oneself. All of that stuff's in the dirt. And it prevents you from rising up to a celestial place and moving the world into peace. It does contain valuable information on your childhood wounding or collective wounding, and I've done other videos on that. So it's not a waste completely. You need to notice if, hey, if I'm getting the urge to go online and tear people down or talk about politics too much or watch negative news or scream and shout and rant and de-stress, that might be pointing to something. There's always a different way of seeing the world. And always remember that divine intelligence cares not for the sin or the merit of anyone. It cares not for the sin or the merit of its political leaders. Yet we want to tear them down. That can be triggering to contemplate. It cares not the sin of the merit or the merit of people that have been abusive or have made huge mistakes or ignorant or have personality disorders. It loves everything at all time, regardless of what that individual human being has done when stress has exited its nervous system. It has compassion because as stress exits nervous systems, it creates personality disorders. It creates a society in which we want to destroy and compete against each other. It creates a place where peace is foreign to us and anger is familiar. And so the divine intelligence understands that as we de stress, as we move from an old way of being in the world into a new way, that in that transition, people get dysregulated. And that's okay. And so everything will be okay. Everything will be okay because you're not judged. You're not doing anything wrong. If we collapse the timeline, it doesn't even matter. When you remove time and all of that stuff, and I don't want to get too woo, it doesn't matter. Does matter and it doesn't matter, and that's paradoxical too, and you can transcend in the paradox. But I don't want to get too woo woo today in this video. I just want to plant a seed of peace and encourage people to move towards it in whatever way arises within them. Maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to go and brush my dog. He's looking a bit messy. Or another person's like, oh, I'm going to water my plants. Or another person's, I'm going to say sorry to that friend that I shouted at. Another person's going to say, hey, I'm going to watch Donald Trump on the TV and kind of find something I like about him. Like maybe anything. They'll just find one thing that they like because they're usually just tearing him down. Or if it's somebody on the other side, they'll find something they like there. It's it's ultimately, I call it gold mining. Some people, they're very easy to love because the diamond has landed on the cushion and they're radiating peace. And when people are radiating peace and they're in a good mood, they're easy to love. But when people are dysregulated and de-stressing and shaming us or writing nasty comments about us, doing smear campaigns, taking us to court, cheating on us in relationships, doing all the stuff that happens in this century. It can be very hard to see things that we like because there isn't that peace radiating off them. And that's when we have to do the gold mining. We have to use our intention to see beyond the surface to find the things in that person that we like. And I'm not saying like you stick your head in the sand and ignore the situation when you need to leave. Use your common sense, but also see from a wider perspective. Hey, maybe I can't like anything, but I like your shoes. Anything. I don't care where you start. It's like a stepping stone. If you're really disliking somebody and the personality can't find anything they like, just try and there'll be one thing. And then you'll get momentum. You'll think, oh, I like their shoes. And then the next thing, well, they did say something nice to me 2 years ago, and I've remembered that. Oh, and then they did kind of stroke my cat when they came over, and they do like animals. Oh, and then it starts to escalate into peace. It's like a little stairway to where all of the diamonds are. So, can we all just put our attention on the things we love and those around us? And that will enable us to see the things we love in ourselves and move into a world that is free of war, a united world, a celestial world, a world where everybody can be themselves, free from ridicule of anybody else, where everybody can feel fearless and know that they are loved. Jai Gurudev.